So yeah, if Cthulhu was running, I probably would vote for him.
Hello, and welcome to Geeks and Gaijins.
Hello.
I'm your Gaijin, John.
I'm your geek, Tom.
We have an episode for you today, don't we, Thomas?
Oh, it's one heck of a doozy of an episode, my fellow whatever you are. We haven't come up with a name for people who listen to this podcast yet.
People,
yes. Nice.
That's a good name. I've heard about it before.
It's an all-encompassing term. I like it.
Exactly. I'm surprised people haven't thought about it before. So we are the podcast that looks at stuff, mostly media stuff, from both the East, me being here in Japan, and the West, Thomas being in...
Sunny, blighty. It is actually sunny today.
I'm shocked. It was very rainy here today.
We had a terrible storm over the weekend, probably one of the worst in our history, according to all the fancy news reports that really wanted me to read their articles and stuff.
Got to read those articles. But more articles we've got to read and films we've got to see, because we have to give a celebration. Thomas, I'm not hearing you celebrating.
My hands are kind of full at the moment, but...
It's a celebration because we are recording this on the 10th of February / US times are confusing compared to being in Japan because it's yesterday for them. It's confusing. 9th / 10th of February, Parasite, the first South Korean, first foreign film to win the Best Picture Oscar, has won the Best Picture Oscar. Yay!
Hey, congratulations.
Bong Joon-ho and Han Jin-won. Essentially, this is the Korean film Parasite, if you haven't heard about it. It won all the awards. Well, it won 4 of them. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature Film.
Neat.
Yeah, essentially, I know it's not Japanese, and Gaijin really refers to Japanesey stuff, but it's East Asia. I'm actually closer to Korea, where I am now, than I am to Tokyo. So I'm taking it. But no, it's really fun. Well, I haven't seen the film itself. I've read lots of reviews and summaries, and it seems amazing and also terrifying and something I don't need in my life right now.
I mean, we know it must be fantastically good because it managed to finally just slap Hollywood awake and go make them finally admit that a foreign film can be good.
Well, not a foreign film, a film that's not originally in English. This is like, because there's lots of, And also, the only step that we still have to take is somehow get someone nominated for a Best Acting Oscar. Because this is the first time in a while, since I think like 2013, that something has won the Best Picture Oscar without having anyone nominated in the acting categories. Because they'll nominate the films and the writing, they won't nominate the actors. It's just like,
Hopefully it sets a precedent for things to come and isn't just a single exception. And maybe, with any luck, we'll finally get the animation awards to wake up to the fact that, hey, Japan makes a lot of really good animated films.
Oh, sorry, the animation awards. I thought you meant the Disney awards.
You can't just keep giving it to Pixar every year. Please.
Not according to Toy Story 4, you can't. Even if I wanted to, I find it very difficult to watch Parasite here because it's a Korean film, which in the cinemas, surprisingly, would be subbed in Japanese in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And Japanese cinemas are scary enough without me sitting there trying to confuse 2 different languages together going, wakarimasen. I don't understand. I don't understand any of this. Because that's how I stand in the office all day. But moving on. Valentine's Day is almost upon us. It's roaring down us on a wave of stuff. And what can I see on top of that wave, Thomas? It's a ship! Segways.
Good. 8 out of 10 segue there, John.
Oh,
fantastic.
Beautiful.
Good job.
Gotta up my game. I need to get those 9s.
Marvelous.
Do you want to explain what a ship is, Thomas?
Yes. Last week we delved into the world of real world Japanese romance traditions surrounding Valentine's Day. And today we're going to delve into the world of fiction, or more accurately, fan fiction.
Yay.
Because the concept of shipping refers to the activity or performance of fans actively engaging in or celebrating a usually romantic relationship between two characters. It can be one that already exists in the original works, or it can be one that they're just speculating at, or one that they've created up almost entirely on their own. But the broad stroke is they're looking for romantic relationships between characters. It's an old term that dates back to, I believe the term was first coined for fans of the X-Files series who thought that there'd be a fun romantic dynamic between the two leads, Mulder and Scully.
But didn't that actually just end up happening, though?
I don't know. I didn't watch X-Files. I'll get around to it eventually.
I swore they got married. No, wait. Am I just going mad? Did I read too much X-Files fan fiction? Wait.
Uh-oh. John's already down that hole.
No, exactly. Notably, obviously, as you said, the X-Files there, this is not an exclusive anime thing or Eastern thing, but because animation and manga tend to have, like, very big supporting casts. So who ends up with who, like, becomes such a huge thing. Like, maybe compared to a Western TV show, where maybe you have, like, 4 or 5 main supporting characters. Which of the 20 characters from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood do you want to end up with each other? Right. Well,
yeah, it's kind of like a fan sport at a certain point where everyone's picking their teams and sticking with them and hoping that they become successful.
That's a very nice way of saying all-out war.
It does get a little excessive. The problem with describing shipping is that there's a lot more to it than just playful discussions on the internet. It gets pretty excessive in some regards. So if you can avoid learning about shipping more than what we've already told you at any cost, please feel free to do so.
Sadly, by the end of this, you'll probably understand the phrase, "If you go against my OTP, I will stab you."
Do you want to explain what that means, John?
Well, stabbing someone is inserting a sharp object into another person. But OTP is an acronym. Sorry, it's an initialism because it'd be OTTP if it's an acronym. I'm an English teacher. An OTP is an initialism for one true pair. It essentially means your favorite ship of all time. It's the two characters you so want to end up together because don't mess with people's OTPs, everyone. Good example is someone like saying, Hermione should have so ended up with Harry at the end of Harry Potter. And no, Ron and Hermione are made for each other. This I will not move on.
See, the problem is, John, you're underestimating how popular that ship is. That ship's still alive somehow.
I don't know, but that's so is the Draco and Hermione one, and that's just wrong. So is the Kylo Ren and Rey one,
but that's like canon now, John.
It's not canon. No. I mean,
technically, it was Ben Solo.
Not canon. They kiss once. And then spoilers for the last Skywalker. But oh god,
too late to give a spoiler warning now, John.
Pure violence and fighting is not a setup for a wholesome relationship. It's just not. It's just not.
So obviously, we should probably turn this away from just the Western shipping community, which neither of us are particularly strong members of. So perhaps you could give an example of a truly wholesome one true pairing from anime, John.
So a good example is My Hero Academia, the only anime that exists. And in this, there is, of course, Deku, our main character. And I personally ship Deku with Uraka, as in Ochacho or Uravity. Basically, the main girl who he has feelings for, and she obviously has feelings for him as well. And they're cute, and they're both little cinnamon rolls, and I want them to end up together.
Classic.
But another example of a ship in that regard is people also ship boys and boys together. So a very common ship is usually the main character the main antagonist or his main kind of rival. So lots of people ship Deku and Bakugo together because people love the idea of those cute rival boys just giving each other hugs.
It's the same with Deku and Todoroki. That actually follows that logic a little bit more extreme.
Yeah, it's because Todoroki is just full Draco Malfoy energy. That's like the Harry Potter Draco Malfoy stuff. That's just
he's a top tier sad boy. He is.
Yeah, he is. He just wants to impress his dad, but
Yeah.
he doesn't because his dad abused him and his wife.
And that phenomenon of pairing male friends together in a romantic relationship is actually a pretty consistent part of the whole shipping community, because even before the term shipping was coined, this sort of behavior still existed way back and can be attributed to the days of the first Star Trek series, where people would create fan content regarding Kirk and Spock being in a romantic relationship together. It was actually called slash fiction at the time because it was like labeled Kirk / Spock, and that's how we get that term coming on. So there's actually a historical precedent for an awful lot of homosexual relationships in fan fiction that don't exist in the original source material.
Look at us, boys. We've become like history references. This goes back like 50 years. Notably, also tune in. I'm starting a new series. The episode might be up by the time this one gets uploaded. We're looking at Japanese history. Oh, we're going to start with how you build a Japan.
Nice.
Plugs within plugs. But yes, it seriously goes back. I assume at that point, because the internet did not exist, that people just wrote. Wouldn't it be? It'll be like published in like fan magazines. Wow. What trash. Yep. What utter trash. But yes. It's like people to be honest, Star Trek doesn't help itself. There is the first series of Next Generation. I'm going to be a super nerd here because I do love Star Trek. I know, surprising. I am single, ladies. Is the first series of Next Generation in which a pheromone or something inhabits the ship, and so everyone just starts making out with each other, to which Data says the immortal line, "I am fully functional and anatomically correct."
Thank you for that piece of information.
Yeah, you really
wonderful.
Yep, I couldn't get that out of my head, so it now lives in yours.
Oh dear me. So yeah, there's that.
So as it comes to Valentine's Day, Thomas thought we should celebrate our own favorite ships from Eastern media. Yes. So Thomas, so you start. What is your favorite ship?
Oh, my favorite one.
Official favorite ship. What is your OTP? As our audience is now familiar with that phrase.
Well, I'm going to confess that whilst Deku and Uraka are fantastic for each other,
indeed,
that particular relationship requires a little bit more work for me to fully get on board with it, because it's a little one-sided in favor of Ochako doing all the work and Midoriya blushing occasionally, but generally doing his own thing. To go for a more niche ship, I'm going to have to go to a show that actually has a ship in it, a spaceship.
Oh.
John, you're probably familiar with me talking way too much about Kanata no Astra Lost in Space by now.
And I refuse to watch it just to mess with you.
It's a show that came out just in the summer of last year, and quite frankly, I don't think I've seen anything more adorable than watching Zach Walker and Kitari Raffaelli have their relationship grow, quote unquote, throughout the show. Zach is by far the best boy of anything I've ever seen so far, and I urge everyone to watch that. It's a great show. Other than that, I'll go through the romance anime maybe towards the end of the episode, because that's kind of cheating at that point.
Yeah, it is kind of, that is another thing with ships, that they tend to be between either the main characters but also minor characters. So, like, especially in My Hero Academia, there's a lots of people who ship the different little characters that don't really get much screen time kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
But that also includes, like, with semi one-off characters as well. So one of the characters, what a really good pair that I ship hard from My Hero Academia is Miyu, the like inventor girl, with Tenya Ida, because they just go together. He's so outraged and so like straight and laced up, and she's just so, I'm gonna make something that might blow up, and she just totally manipulates him, and it's amazing. And he is like, no, I'm outraged, but also it's great. It's
I'll admit there's no chemistry there, but that opposites attract of utter chaotic energy and utter lawful energy is just so appealing. It's
I think they do. No, I think they do have chemistry there. There is strong. I think there's strong chemistry there.
It's comedic chemistry, that's for sure.
And that's all you need.
It is hilarious to watch them interact. So
exactly.
If I'm gonna take any non-canon ship for My Hero Academia, I'll go for those two. All the others, not so keen on. Do you have any from My Hero Academia you'd like to?
My Hero Academia. The thing is, I always forget his name. I think it's Ojiro.
It's Toru and Ojiro Mashiro.
Yeah. So essentially, the guy with the tail and the invisible girl, and which is how 90% of people know who they are.
They don't have much else going on for them at the moment.
No,
I'll give
but
them that.
They have some sweet little moments together, and it's nice. And they're just two kind of characters. It's just like, what's his superpower? He's got a tail. What's her superpower? She's invisible. Cool. I'll do. They're both nice. Why not? Oh. And also, Ojiro Tail Guy has a kind of like nice honor bit to him. He's like, I will help you even though he defeated me, etc. And apparently you get more with Invisible Girl later in the anime. But no, we need to get to my OTP.
Do you remember the names this time, John? Because it's hard to call it your OTP if you don't remember the names.
It is from Kill la Kill, a seinen action anime about people slicing superpowered clothes off each other. Yes. It's Gamagori and Mankanchuk. Mako Mankanchuk.
Tell us a little bit about those characters, John.
Well, Gamagori is like the first character introduced. He is the student body president. Well, no, he's not the student. He's like the disciplinary, like, enforcer. He's essentially the hall monitor. But and in this school, essentially you have people evil wearing these Goku uniforms, as they're called in the dub, because I watched the dub because I'm bad. And he does this, and he just is this massive man who is just also kind of has a little like squishy heart of gold at the bottom. But he always does his best. He's always trying. And Mako is the best friend of the main character, Ryuko Matoi. These names are hard. But she's just really buzzy and really like lovely. She has absolutely no powers, but for some reason she gets in the middle of fights anyway, and she just loves everything. And like part of the way through the show as fights go on, because I don't want to give spoilers for Kill la Kill, but kind of like Gamaguri kind of starts as a villain, but they kind of end up kind of on the same side. So whenever Mako ends up like doing stuff or things that are like semi-embarrassing, because this is a show also about superpowered clothes end up getting ripped off or things at certain points. It's a show meant for like 16-year-old boys, which is why that is. So he gets like the very cute kind of like nosebleeds, which is a very indication in anime of like when someone is kind of like attractionally embarrassed. This includes there's nothing more like apart from just like some nice like looks and moments of them helping each other. but also right at the end of the anime, there's some still frames which shows, oh look, everyone is happy after the end of the episode, the thing, and he's holding like some flowers, obviously to give to Mako, and he's too nervous to, and all his friends are teasing him because he's too nervous to. I'm like, oh. And he's like this big burly man, and I'm so for big burly man being way too embarrassed to ask out cute, really hyper girl. That's it's so good. And also, I've told Thomas about this before, but their English voice actors for the dub, I think it was Anime Expo 2015. They were asked to, essentially by the crowd, like as a question section, could you like be Gamaguri, asking out Mako awkwardly, to which he said, I'm surprised you need to qualify awkwardly, but sure. To which, after doing it, both the dub actors getting so into it and ending with a mic drop by Gamaguri's voice actor shouting, "It's canon now, bitch!" I just love it so much. I love the characters behind it. I love that the voice actors behind it. I just think, they're so adorable and great. Oh dear. It's so good. Oh, so good. And all the fan art is really, really cute. It's so cute.
That's all you really need.
Fan art element of shipping, it has to be on point. Be careful, because it's fan art, guys. Safe search on, okay? But no, it's so good. It's just so good. I love it so much. You see, this is what ships do to people. They make us empty husks.
Oh dear.
Also, I'm sure you've been wondering, ships are nautical vessels that can hold boats within them. A ship is not just anything that can float on water. A ship requires a boat inside it. So a ship has a lifeboat in it. A boat cannot carry other ships. There, nautical learning as well.
I'm looking forward to having us be corrected on that piece of information as well.
Oh yeah, my reference to this are historical fiction books about ships from the 1960s. So please correct me.
If the dictionary on boating terms has been updated significantly since then, feel free to keep us posted.
All lies.
So maybe we should go through a quick one down of some other shows just before we wrap this section up.
Oh yeah, what other ships?
How about I start getting a little spicy in here now, John?
Ooh.
Another show we've both watched, so we can discuss this in earnest.
Oh,
what are your opinions on the Seven Deadly Sins ships?
That they're all massively inappropriate. Because the main character is an absolute perv.
You're not a fan of
everything wrong with anime. And also, even when it is between appropriately aged characters, the characters appear like they're like 10 years old, even though they're thousands of years old, and that is also not okay.
Also, not a fan of Ban the Immortal Human and the Fairy Queen getting together, John.
That's like all right in the show, but it's like the artists could do something to make it slightly less creepy.
Yeah. Oh boy, I wish they hadn't drawn these fairies as children. Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I mean, I do kind of like Diane and King, just because, like.
Oh yes, that's a good one. Unfortunately, it's too good for the show, and they keep making the characters forget who they are. So we're just constantly playing Ring Around the Rosies.
It's just amnesia, because you're like, oh no, they actually do love each other, but they don't. Also, Meliodas deserves no one to die alone. There, I said it. He doesn't know how to treat. He doesn't know how to treat pigs. That's not a joke for people who haven't seen the haven't seen the show. He owns a pig, a magical talking pig, and the pig's mother as well.
He doesn't own Hawk. Hawk owns him. Clearly, that's how that works.
The Knight of Scraps.
Yes.
Yeah. Sir Scraps. But no, it's Meliodas is easily one of the worst parts of that show. Easily. I know there's so many hot takes right now. I'm on fire. But just know he's everything wrong with an anime protagonist. He looks like he's like 9, but he's thousands of years old, immortal, whatever. He's an absolute perv who grabs women just for no reason, even when they say no. And he's just a dick. And now I'll tell you how I really feel. Thomas, opinions.
I don't think you're wrong on any of those capacities. I agree that as much as they have tried at least at the end of, well, actually throughout season 2 of Seven Deadly season 2 of Seven Deadly Sins to make Elizabeth and Meliodas seem a little bit more suitable for each other, they've only made it weird.
Also,
it's only gotten worse.
She's like 16, 17. I'm going to get onto this on...
Not only that, but technically Meliodas helped raise her from a child. Which is like...
Anime,
I get that there's supposed to be some sort of star-crossed Romeo and Juliet relationship going on here, but that works a little less when one of them is 1,000 years old and has been able to raise his love interest from childhood. So that's not great.
Isn't that just grooming at that point?
Exactly.
Romeo and Juliet is like 13, 12 or whatever. Romeo is still only about 15, 16. Not great, but by the accounts of 15th, 16th century Shakespearean love, fine, I'll let it go. But just, oh God. I hate anime sometimes. I hate it so much. It's just it's inappropriate, guys. Oh dear. Did you have any more spicy takes that are gonna make me like shout at our listener anymore?
I don't think I've got any more on the list that you have watched as well. No. I think all the ones left on my list, all the shows left on my list are ones I've only seen myself. So, do you have any more shows that you'd recommend?
Not particularly. I just love Miss Koba. She's Dragon Maid, not for the shipping, but just for the love. If you want something to watch and feel like good and wholesome, like on Valentine's Day, I just recommend it because it's so cute, and even my students love it as well, and it's great. I love that show so much.
That is a solid one.
And on that note, it's snack break time because we've been talking about ships for a long time. I need to crack into my supplies. And because it's Valentine's Day, I got something pink.
Nice. What have you got for us today, John?
I have Pocky.
Ooh, a classic
Japanese snack, but I got a twist. So Pocky is, of course, the pretzely sticks with chocolate on the end of them, which is probably one of the only Japanese snacks that if you live in the West, you will have ever heard of. And you're like, ooh, Pocky. I know what that is. And yes, they tend to be delicious, but here they have so many different types, including seasonal types, because as we know, Thomas, Japan has 4 seasons.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So many. Just look up the meme, Japan has 4 seasons. It's...
yes, that internet staple.
That's taught in classrooms. Yes, it's the only country. They're taught that they're the only country with 4 seasons.
This in-joke only gets better every time you feel you have to explain it, John.
Yes, because I feel like I need to, because I feel like people don't realize that thinks, yeah, only we have 4 seasons. No one else does. Anyway, Pocky. I have Sakura Pocky. Sakura Shitate Pocky. I don't know what flavor it is. I assume it's not cherry blossom flavor because that's what Sakura is both a name of a murdered character in our Danganronpa episodes. Spoilers. But Sakura is a common girl's name because it just means cherry blossom. It's like a child being called Lily or Rose or Mugwort.
Please don't ever name your child Mugwort.
Or do call him Muggy for short.
No.
Or Watermer.
John, you're not allowed to make any suggestions anymore. No, I'm going to have to cut you off.
Exactly. So it's pink and it seems to be covered in like little sugar crystals. I'll try and take a picture for when hell freezes over. But yeah, so that's all I've got. It's covered in like the nice flour. We're still in deep winter here. We got snow, but I thought I'd have something to try and summon along spring. So here we are. Itadakimasu. My, that's strange.
Ooh, how strange.
Well, as I've said before, like a lot of the flavored chocolate in Japan is white chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Because it's easy to flavor.
It's easy to flavor. And this is very difficult to describe. So first you have the texture. You have like the chocolate and you've just got a normal pretzel stick. So there's no filling. But like the little granulated bits of sugar, they taste like they have like a slight texture, a slight crunch to them, which and then the actual chocolate itself, I don't know if it has strands of something in it because it tastes like almost desiccated coconut in it as well. And it almost has a very kind of light like flavor. It's not trying to be like cherry, so it's trying to be like vaguely flowery. I am just mostly getting, but no, it's it's just kind of very flowery and actually very coconut. I'm surprised how. I don't think it's supposed to taste this much of coconut.
I'll have to give it a pass if it tastes of coconut. That's not good for me. I don't like that.
No, but it's very like the inside is very crumbly, so it is very. The pretzel is nice and biscuity, but yeah, that's a strange one. But I am intrigued by the Sakura Pocky. That's mine. I'm trying to describe something it might taste like, but it tastes like a flowery coconut. Maybe that's what cherry blossom leaves taste of. Who knows?
You haven't tried cherry blossoms, clearly. So
I don't think you're supposed to eat them, Thomas. That's not what you're supposed
that would explain why you don't know what they taste like, John.
Exactly, and it's explained why I'm banned from the Meiji Shrine. Anyway, we've been talking now for much too long, so I'm going to do a very quick section called John Reviews Films You Should Have Seen Already. I give that snack break a flowers out of 10.
Nice.
So, if you are aware, outside of Japan, it's very hard to actually watch a Ghibli movie. Ghibli movies being by the amazing director Hayao Miyazaki, whose name is very difficult to say, so I won't mention the fact or dwell on the fact that I just said it. So, Mr. Miyazaki, or Miyazaki-san, or Miyazaki-sama, because he is a god. Essentially, he is one of the greatest animators of Japan of all time. Now, for an awful long time, it was very difficult to find Ghibli movies outside of Japan. Essentially, you had to buy them on physical discs, or they were maybe on TV, but that was it. So you had to basically buy a DVD or a video release, or just wait for it to be on like BBC Two at midnight or something. But finally, now in the year 2020, they're being released on digital. So on Netflix, essentially on most Western platforms outside the US, Ghibli movies are coming to Netflix. They're not coming to Netflix Japan because reasons. They are going to be launched with HBO Now in the US as part of that service. And then I don't know if they'll make their way to Netflix later. Because essentially, for some reason, a couple of them are being added onto Netflix each month. And so some of the older ones were added onto Netflix. So I thought I might as well watch these because I really should have watched these ages ago. But as I mentioned before, they're very difficult to find in the UK or the US, I assume. So the two I watched were My Neighbour Totoro, or My Neighbour Totoro, or The Totoro Next Door. My Neighbour Totoro, or as in Japanese, because annoyingly, when I try to speak to my students, most of these films don't have the same title in English or Japanese. So it's just like, oh, I love this film. And they're like, what the hell is that film? And I'm like, this film. And they're like, oh, you mean the film with a totally different name? Yes, that one.
Obviously, of course, that makes sense.
Exactly. So, but quite simply, My Neighbor Totoro is the Totoro Next Door which in Japanese, I think that's a good one. It's from 1988. It is a very classic children's film, and you can watch it in either Japanese or in English. Because I'm a weeb and I live in Japan, I watched it in Japanese. I will also say, if you are learning Japanese, because this is a film for small children, because it's a kids. My Neighbor Totoro is very strongly a kids film. It's full of that wonder of adventure and like nature that Japan loves so much. But the Japanese is relatively simple as well. So I was actually able to understand more of it than I thought I would. So it was actually quite fun, like knowing what the characters are saying and not having to rely on subtitles. Because the two main characters are small children. I think one's like 3 or 4 and the other one's about 7 or 8. So it's not essentially the plot being 2 kids, they move with their dad to a new home out in the countryside to be close to a hospital because that's where their mother is staying because she's ill for some reason. And they find that next door is a Totoro, a kind of very furry troll from their picture book. And they just... No, he is described as a troll in the translation. He
doesn't look like what we consider a troll to look like, though, does he, John?
A Swedish troll. No, he does make some very strange, quite scary faces, which I imagine if I was a tiny John, well, tinier than I am now, and was watching, I would be pretty scared because he makes some of those freaky, big furry faces. It's very difficult to explain the faces that Totoro makes. Also, surprisingly, Totoro is not that much in his own film. He's kind of like this kind of magical, he's the king of the forest. He just kind of turns up occasionally. He's like, yo, what's up? I'm Totoro. And then kind of disappears. Cool. It's an adorable film. There are some bits that haven't aged too well, mostly to do with just Japan and stuff. It's difficult to talk about because it's because it's set in post-war Japan, like 50s Japan or so. It's quite difficult to work out what level of technology people have access to. So it's kind of when it came out in 88, it would be much more remembered by people than what it is now. But it's very much a good film with that kind of like imagination. And you can see why Totoro basically grabs hold of the Japanese psyche and becomes essentially a Japanese Winnie the Pooh. He is like any child under the age of like probably their low 30s, their early 30s, is essentially grown up with Totoro their entire lives. And that makes sense. He is big and adorable. There's even points where he has an umbrella, and there are also slightly smaller Totoros that follow him around, which then when they see he has an umbrella, they follow him around with an umbrella. Like they find leaves so they look like they have an umbrella like Totoro does. And it's adorable. This is the thing with Miyazaki. The animation is amazing, and there's so much detail. This is hand-drawn animation at its best, and this is something I really recommend you watch because it is a kids film. If you have kids, I recommend watching it with them. The dub is fine. It's the 2005 Disney dub where they actually have proficient actors to do it, but it's not so much. It's not one of the better dubs, mostly because child actors. But it's still, this is one I probably recommend you watch in Japanese, but still, most of the Disney dubs are okay. I do like them because they were released with Disney in around 2005-ish for these older films. But like, just some of the scripts doesn't work so well, and some of the adaptations to using the language doesn't work that well either, I will say. It's just like, a good example is the phrase itadakimasu, which is essentially like, let's eat, let's go, or whatever. Essentially, they translate that to, in the dub, this child going, ready, set, let's go, let's eat. And like the character doesn't eat fast. It's just like, you're not racing. You could have just said, that character could have just said, let's eat. And it's like, cool. But no, they change it. It's very confusing.
Oh dear. Oh well, clearly the movie is not worth watching anymore. Let's just skip over the whole thing. What a waste of 5 minutes.
Exactly. And going on to very quickly onto Porco Rosso, one of the one of the only films. Essentially, this is one of the Ghibli films that everyone forgets about, and it's also called Porco Rosso in all languages, which just means the red pig in Italian. It's about a half human, half pig. Basically, he was cursed to be a pig fighter pilot over the Adriatic Sea, set in the 20s or 30s. It's very strange setting-wise. It is one of the stranger Ghibli films, mostly just because it's not as good as the other things, but it's also... It kind of has that fun adventure to it, but with a very strange real-world setting. Because I looked into the production of it, it was released in 1992, and it's mostly set in the Balkans. And for any fans of history, that is when the Balkans conflict starts to hit off. So suddenly they have to go from this, like, magical European setting to, oh, we need to acknowledge that conflict exists. We need to acknowledge that fascism exists. Which they do, and they do it all right. Like, one of the best lines of the entire movie is Porco Rosso. They ask him to join the Italian Air Force, and he says, better a pig than a fascist. I'm like, yeah, go Porco Rosso. But no, it's...
Imagine a day came where that statement was controversial.
Exactly. No, it's a good film. It's like a good adventure film. It just doesn't... Like, you can forgive the Totoro's, like, lack of direction because it's a kid's film. It's a kid's film about exploring and, like, just generally kind of small stories.
Is it more capturing the sort of the childlike whimsy type thing?
And wonder, whereas this kind of tries to be more serious, but there's about the same amount of, like, direction and, like, oomph behind the story, so it just kind of peters out, which is not great. It's a fine film. I thought I would like it much more than I did, but yeah, give it a try. But I definitely recommend the other Ghibli films before Porco Rosso. Also, I will say some of, like, the top tier, like, cast they got for these things for the dubs are amazing. So I did watch that in sub form, but do, if you have time, watch Porco Rosso for the dub, because Michael Keaton is, yes, Batman is Porco Rosso himself. And the main villain is Carrie Elwes of The Princess Bride.
That's great.
This is not... soon they might release... So they're releasing new stuff each month, so I'll try and get through all the Ghibli films each month to tell you which ones to watch when they come to. But one of the best ones is for Howl's Moving Castle, which I think comes out next month, in which the dub of the main character, Howl, is Christian Bale. I'm not lying.
What? Wait, how old is Christian Bale for this? Because the kid's like 10 in Howl's Moving Castle, is he not?
No, he's not the kid. He's Howl.
Oh, okay.
He's Howl, the sorcerer who owns the castle. And also in Princess Mononoke, or Mononoke no Hime, which is one of the ones which actually has the same title. I'm pretty sure one of the main villains in that is voiced by X-Files favourite, bringing it back round to the beginning of the show, Gillian Anderson.
Who does Gillian Anderson voice?
Oh, she's the giant wolf god. She's the giant wolf god. There you go.
That's appropriate. That's a Gillian Anderson role.
This is exactly. Princess Mononoke, also one of my favourite films. When that comes out, you watch it. It's so good. But now we have talked way too long.
Whatever the heck that last 5 minutes was, that was a long talk.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows how much of that you're going to get to listen to, listeners?
One day we'll stick the landing on that, but
until then, there's possibly a new series. Well, no, there is a new series starting on the Geeks and Gaijins channel, kind of podcast channel. You can listen to it if you want. You don't have to. It is Japanese history for Gaijins. It is me by myself, no Thomas, I'm afraid, but looking at Japanese history in small bite-sized chunks. So if you like learning with a bit of funniness along the way and learning about this land that is Japan, do tune in. It's only about... Each episode should only be about 10-15 minutes long, so kind of following Mike Duncan's The History, but more storytelling and more fun, because I'm not a historian. Well, I am, but no one pays me, so...
Fair enough. What's the title of that again, John?
That is Japanese History for Gaijins. You can find it probably on the same place you're listening to this. Spotify, iTunes, all our things. It'll be on Facebook. First episode should have come out by the time this show is live, he says.
Quick workaround there.
Yes. And hopefully we just keep on going with them. It's a fun series that I've been trying to plan for a while. If you have any recommendations for it, please do, because Japanese history is hard. So please forgive me, guys. It's really difficult. Oh, sure difficult. Thomas, do you have anything that you want to plug? Plug.
I'll make a couple of quick recommendations for the season.
Tis the season.
Tis the season of love, and as such, I should probably suggest some romance anime for anyone who's interested. Last year saw a big breakout in romantic comedy with Kaguya-sama Love is War, which we'll be getting a second season, I think, next season, maybe this summer.
Woot.
And that's a great, fun high school romance anime about two characters who have managed to somehow make their feelings for each other into a competition of trying to get each other to confess their feelings to the other. And it's very entertaining, and it's got a great supporting cast, and I recommend you'd watch that. Also, if you're sick of high school anime, there's also Love is Hard for Otakus, which follows two pairs
Otakus?
of Otakus. Which is just, I don't know, Japanese for geek, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a slur, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's been repossessed.
It's fine. Yeah, it's like it's more of a jokey phrase they use as
yeah, but that's just a sort of more serious, but also still a romantic comedy about office workers who also have secret lives as mega nerds.
Oh no, mega nerds.
Well. Other than that, also Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai and Interviews with Monster Girls are also great.
And with that, mic drop. Have a very happy Valentine's Day. Or not, and sit and watch anime with us. One of us. It's Friday in Japan, so I might actually be able to stream, even if Thomas isn't able to. A Valentine's stream all together. Oh, isn't that nice?
We'll have to pick up something specially appropriate for the season, won't we, John?
Murder high school game. Murder high school game. Sorry.
Yes.
Watch us play Danganronpa. Next time I'll remember to turn the volume on. Okay, bye!
Thanks for tuning in.